Good evening and welcome to the Australian Stock Market Show. Well, last week the Australian market, after hitting its lowest level since November last year, turned to rise in a nice bullish move. So, is this current move sustainable, and is now the time to get ready to buy more stocks? I will answer that a little later in the show, but tonight we get into medical marijuana stocks and give you our top ASX pot stocks to buy. First up tonight, we'll share our hot stock tip for the week before diving into our view on the world market. So now's the time to sit back and relax. Tonight's show will be jam-packed as we answer your emails, take your phone calls and give you the answers to some of the most important questions around the stock market. Hello and welcome to the Australian Stock Market Show. I'm Dale Gillham. Now, given Janine is taking a short break, joining me tonight is someone new, and he's in our assessment team. He's also an elite analyst. So welcome to the show, Pedro Benales.
Thanks, Dale, and hello to everyone. It's great to be with you on the show. I do like our topic for tonight, which is all about medical marijuana stocks, and I have been doing some research and have a few that are quite interesting right now. So keep watching as we will get into these soon.
Now, first up, Pedro, we do need to get into this week's hot stock tip.
Okay.
So what do we got for our hot stock tip?
So on the screen we have Xtech, which is an industrial. It's a stock in the industrial sector, which provides protective security and tactical and forensic solutions to the government. And the reason...
Government, law enforcement, military, well, that's good for today, isn't it?
Exactly, and unfortunately, given the current global economic and geopolitical situations, I think they stand to do quite well in this space.
Okay.
It is a lower liquidity stock, so it's not for everyone. Good PE ratio.
2.49, yep.
2.49. And ASX rank of 1,000.
Wow.
So it is quite large. So going to the chart, we can see the monthly chart on the left and the weekly chart on the right. It's looking pretty good. And actually, looking at it last week, it hadn't gapped up like this. It's actually had a very good run last week.
Do you want to expand it all up, expand that chart up so everybody can see it a little bit better? You don't do it, Janine. Don't tell her
exactly.
I said that, okay?
Sitting on the chair, yep, follow the same footsteps. Now, this current bar here
so that's
on
this
the
week,
weekly,
so that's Monday, Tuesday's data.
That's right. It has gapped up and it's found resistance in the 50-cent mark, which seems to be a historical resistance level. But it has broken up above this down trend line here. And we can see when it did have this big rise here that went up, say, 363%. It's quite large.
Wow, that's February 2022 to what, December 2022 or November. That's a pretty fast rise.
It is. And actually this date here that I've got was when Russia invaded Ukraine, and it was actually on that date.
It started to take off.
It started to take off on high volume as well. It started increasing. So
that volume's a lot more than what we're seeing right now. So maybe the expectation is not there from this. What's going on?
It could be. I mean, it has taken off, but not, like you said, not on quite high volume.
Okay.
But I do like it. It's like I said, it's not for everyone. It's a bit of a low liquidity stock, so it can move quite fast.
Let me just have a look. I just want to see some of the volume there. So you're looking there, 702,831 shares at 30 cents. Ish. So get your calculator out. That's $2.1 million, something like that, isn't it?
Pretty much,
roughly.
Yeah.
I mean, just rounded in my head. So that's in a week we're talking about. So that's where you're saying it's a lower end stock. So therefore, what would you suggest somebody looking at this stock maybe wanting to get a little bit of exposure to this market? What do you expect they do?
I would say at this moment it has reached that resistance level that I was talking about before. So it could actually come down, fill this gap, or even retest that 35 cent mark.
Okay.
So I'd just be watching it for the moment. don't rush into it, because as we saw before, it can actually have quite high rises.
Right, so you're saying don't get into FOMO. That's what you're telling us.
Yeah, FOMO can be something pretty bad. So yeah.
All right, so we're going to stay out of FOMO. We're going to make sure we've got a. And I would probably also add on to that, I wouldn't put all my, I'd just put my lunch money on it, not my whole dinner money.
Agreed.
If that makes sense.
10% of your overall portfolio or something like that. Yeah.
All right, well, thanks. That is it for our hot stock tip or hot weekly stock tip. Now, shortly we're going to get into medical marijuana stocks, but before we do, it's your opportunity to get involved in the show and have your questions answered. Now, remember, we prioritise phone callers, so call now on 03 for Melbourne 929 09988. That's 03 929 09988. Or you can text your question to the number that's on your screen. Now, the first caller into the show right now gets a free copy of my book, Accelerate Your Wealth. Yes, I've got it up the right way, Pedro. See, look at that. So pick up your phone and dial 929-099-88 right now. Now, while you do that, tonight is the third Tuesday in the month, which means we take a look at world markets. So how about we get into the charts right now?
Okay.
Right, now whilst Pedro's been a bit slow, you should have been going on to that already.
Yes,
you said sitting in that seat, you'd be carrying on with what Janine does.
I've got big boots to fill at the moment.
I know you do. So let's go into the watch list of world markets. So we're putting him under pressure tonight.
Yes, so this isn't actually my...
do you want me to find it for you?
Yes, please, yes. So it looks like I lost it there.
No, I'll find it for you. It's quite simple. World markets is...
yes, I knew it was yellow.
So that's the world indices right there. So this is what we're looking at here. I do have to take it easy on you though tonight, because you are our newest assessor. Having only been, how many months have you been with us now?
Oh, since May.
Since May, so 5 months.
Like a lifetime, yeah.
6 lifetime?
Yeah, in a good way.
That sounds like a negative. So, and you're our newest assessor. So what are you seeing now? So we've got the watch list up.
Yes.
It's on a yearly, so therefore we've got the NASDAQ there up at 37% for the year. That's gone back up again, because that was down in the 20s last time we did look at this. So obviously that's all moving up. Obviously we're seeing the NASDAQ comp up 28%. The S&P 500 is 13%. So again, technology stocks, and this is all the talk about at the moment. It's still in the US, those sort of darlings where you've got your Microsoft, your Apples, your Nvidia has come into that group as well.
Yes.
And some of those other big tech stocks are in
Fang
there.
stocks.
Your Facebook and your Google, or the Alphabet, the two different Alphabet shares that they've got there. So those ones have all still been doing well, but there's still conjecture whether they'll be any good in the coming year or so, whether they're going to start to slow down those stocks. My bet is they are from here, but looking at the All Ordinaries Index, we're only just breaking even at the moment for the year, which is interesting, because we've had 2 rises of 8% and 2 falls of around 8% this year.
Yeah, it
so
hasn't been doing
traders
much.
make money, but not anybody else. So we've got the Hang Seng down there, down at 9.86%. New Zealand not doing as well this year, did really well last year. Singapore down at down 2.47, so not looking too bad through here, but I would suggest that we're going to start seeing a bit of a slowdown on these sort of technology stocks. If you're looking at the Dow Jones, it's only up to 2.5%.
Yeah, we're not far behind, are we?
And I know there's a lot of talk in the market at the moment of the Dow or the US market not doing so well over the coming year or so. So what Janine and I keep saying to people is we think our market will take off and that the US markets will slow down and will start to overtake all of those. Do you want to add anything onto that?
Yeah, I would say that they're probably expecting a recession. I think that they've been expecting that for a while. It hasn't come yet, so they're probably teetering on their seats, just waiting for that. But I would also add that the All Ords is moving into this lagging territory, which is where we start to get excited.
Well, it is. I mean, you can bring that all up if you like, the RRG graph. Now, I normally do this in Talking Wealth in my weekly market report for Talking Wealth for our members in that. But looking at this is looking like the SEC, in New Zealand market, our market, the Dow Jones is all moving into this area, and obviously the Straits Times Index. So these markets will probably be the ones that more outperform over the next year or so, and some of these ones on this side, which is obviously the NASDAQ 100 there, you've got the Compex over there, but these ones probably be slowing down a little bit, I'd say, because obviously they go around in a circle, in a clockwise motion. But it is looking like things change because money does flow, and that's what I was talking about yesterday on my market report. And I was looking at the sectors on the Australian market saying, well, money ebbs and flows all the time, and it does so on a world scale as well.
Yes.
It flows in and out of the US market, it flows in and out of European markets, Asian markets, depending on that money flow. But it is looking pretty good at the moment for our market.
I like
moving forward. All right.
That's it for our thoughts on the world markets. Now let's get into our first question.
Okay, our first email is from King, who we haven't heard from for a while. So welcome back, King. He says, hi, Janine and Dale. Got a hypothetical question regarding when a stock drops in price due to trading ex-dividend. Probably more of an issue for someone of the larger dividend players, example, BHP and Woodside. However, would you handle, or how would you handle if the price drop due to the stock going ex-dividend then triggers a stop loss? Do you sell out and follow your rules, or do you make an allowance for the amount of the dividend and adjust the stop loss to the lower price? Also, would you please take a look at Metcash for me and let me know what you think? I don't own it, but have been patiently watching it. It looks to be trying to push a bit higher after a downtrend from May 2022 and has certainly had nice uptrends in the past. When it gets going, many things, there's always K. So, regular writer-inner, King Gillham. So, first question is, dividend gets paid, goes through your stop loss. What do you do?
Interesting.
I know it is. That's why I'm putting you under the pressure.
Right. Well, I would actually, personally, I wouldn't trigger. I mean, I wouldn't exit the stock because of a dividend, ex-dividend. But you would also backtest the stock and see how the stock behaves. So that would also come into it around that dividend time. See if it does fall by the percentage of that dividend payout. And if it has triggered, what levels is it at? Is it at historical support levels? What other factors are at play? I would actually factor a few things in, and not only the fact that it has triggered my stop loss in that scenario.
You're pretty much channeling the inner Janine in you. That's pretty good.
Being pretty diplomatical.
You are being pretty... I mean, Janine and I would have talked about it being about a little bit more context, and we've talked about it in the past. If it drops by the amount of the dividend, that suggests that that's okay. But if it drops 1.5%, yeah, that's not too bad. But if it drops a little bit more than that, then that's probably a trigger to sell it because it is weak. So it's a bit context in that sort of point of view. Is if it does drop a lot more than the dividend, then you've got to look at it going, well, why did it do that? And then maybe take your stop loss. But if it just drops the dividend amount, I'm with you, keep holding it. But I wouldn't readjust my stop loss because you'll find it'll probably start to move up from there, and then your original stop losses be okay. But again, it's a bit context, a real sort of context driven in that makes sense. So now we're going to go and look at his stock. Right. So have you got that up at the moment?
Yes, it is. So on the screen now, we've got a monthly chart of MTS on the left and a weekly chart of MTS, Metcash.
Nice trending stock.
It's a nice trending stock, yes. We can see on the monthly chart here on the left, it's had very long runs in the past, followed by a little bit of consolidation there, but then it starts trending again, and it trends beautifully.
I'd trade this on the monthly chart. You know, that I think it looks so good. Anything with rules in my first book on that, it would trade it. So you've got up the weekly chart as well, and you've put a little bit of work on it. So well done. You're doing more than Janine here, aren't you?
That's right. Yes.
So this is looking pretty good. So what have we got here?
So I've just put some basic trend lines and some basic support and resistance there. Just a couple of levels to see where it could possibly find resistance in the future. And
so what you're saying is right now it's crossed the trend line. It's looking good for you. So you'd be agreeing with King?
I like it. If you had back tested this stock and found that trend lines work pretty good, you could justify an entry. Really,
you could justify, but will you? I want to try and get, like, Janine never says yes or no. She just skirts around the edges.
Yeah, that's right. Because it's very basic to say, just enter on the trend lines. We do take multiple things into consideration, but if you were just going off that, then I like it. It's looking good.
King, he's being very diplomatic. When you first show, you don't want to overstep the mark, do you? But we do have a caller on the line. Pedro, your first caller, so well done.
Right.
Do we have John on the line, do we?
Yes, hi.
John, welcome to the show. How are you tonight?
Yeah, doing very well, thank you.
That's
to be
good.
here.
Is this your first time calling in?
No, Dale, I called in last week, actually.
Oh, did you? Jeez, I'll tell you, that's how old I am. I've forgotten already. So, but thank you for calling back in. So you got a stock for us tonight?
Yeah, I was interested in car sales.
Oh, yeah, cool.
CAR.
CAR, have you bought it or are you just interested in looking at whether you buy it?
Yeah, just interested in it. I guess what I was looking at is like a broad perspective. If I go back and look at how it's trended over, say, the last year to the last 5 years, 10 years or more, it's kind of had ups and downs, but long term it's just kind of trending up fairly steadily with, market behaviour. There's been no real major long-term downtrends. So if I'm looking at it at the moment, within the, well, not the moment, but within the last 12 months, it seems to have really risen up, say, since mid-August. So if I stick, say, let's say a 1 year or even a 5 year plus trend line on it, it seems to be above that trend line. So I was just wondering your thoughts, if it's kind of on a rise at the moment, or I'm thinking might be a bit better to wait till it pulls back closer to a long-term trend line around the, I don't know, the $22 mark.
Okay.
And then looking for a buy opportunity before it continues up a longer-term trend.
Okay, so you're looking longer term for your buy, or at least medium term?
Yeah, at least medium, I guess.
Okay. That's cool. All right, so we'll have a look at it. Pedro's got it all up on the screen, so I'll handle that. But thanks for calling in again, and everybody can be like you, John, and pick up their phone and give us a call on the numbers on your screen, so we'd love to hear from you too. But Pedro, what do you reckon? Car sales, do you like it?
Car sales, yes. Actually, I have looked at this myself in the past. It's jumped up on good results here in the month of August. Back in August. I know they had very good results come up, and it's actually crossed above the all-time high. So it's now trading above the all-time high, and it has pulled back recently, but it then traded back up again. So it's like it doesn't want to fall below this low of, say, $27.
So basically, you're suggesting. John was saying, well, do I wait for it to come back to the more longer-term momentum around $22 before I get into it? So he was sort of talking about here this monthly chart, because you can see how steady this thing is. If we just use a trend line through here, you can see how steady it is right across that. So that's what he's sort of suggesting. If it comes back down to this sort of $21, $22 mark, is the other thing. And to me, the answer lies in between all of that, because if you take a buy signal from it now off the weekly chart, you're going to have a stop loss on it anyway. So when it's in blue sky like here, and it is looking quite nice outside of this huge big move through here, so if it does slow down its momentum a little bit, that's okay. But just as long as you've got a stop loss on it, because obviously short-term momentum can be steeper, which is what we're seeing here. So we might. This doesn't look like it's going to come back into this area. It's going to go up. So to me, that's my answer would be, I like it. If you want to buy it, I wouldn't suggest it may be medium to longer term. I'm saying buy it with a short term, more horizon. Make sure you've got a stop loss in it, because it could turn into a longer term buy.
Yep, I have to agree on that, definitely.
Cool. I'm glad you agree with me. That's nice. I like that. Well, now it's time to get into our next question, which is from Reese. And Reese says, hi, Dale and Janine. I was wondering if you could take a look at either Westpac or Bendigo Bank. I've been watching these stocks unfold, and they seem to be setting up a similar how they did around the GFC until 2012. Now I'm looking to take a long position if they break out of the triangle pattern to the upside. Would love to hear your thoughts on this. Regards, Reese. Now you've put some work on this. You've done a triangle on which one here? I've got to put my glasses on.
That's right. Yes. Just again some basic lines there.
So this is Westpac?
This is Westpac. We have chosen Westpac. On the left, monthly chart, right, weekly chart. It's on a long-term downtrend on the monthly. And on the weekly, if we can zoom in there, it is forming a nice little triangle there, and it's making its way into the apex of that triangle now. So
I love it.
question is, which way is it going to go?
Up.
Yep, you think so?
Absolutely. I mean, Janine and I have been really definite about what we think is going to happen. And to me, you know, whilst yesterday the market went up a little bit, today sort of went up and come back a little bit, still closed higher, but I think we've had our low, but I'm not confirming it yet. So don't get FOMO and trying to jump into everything. But we've been pretty vocal saying banks, materials and energy are the sectors that we're thinking for the next year. Banks have been, they're still not, Westpac's not trading above its all-time high.
Oh, definitely.
You know, and that was 2015 or something, wasn't it? Or something, or 2008, 17 or something.
Yes.
So it hasn't traded. None of the big four banks are trading above their all-time highs.
CBA.
Combank's come off its one, but the rest of them are all, the other three are way below their longer-term all-time highs. I like it. I think it's probably going to break to the upside, so I'd have to agree with Reece on this one, and Bendigo probably in the same situation, wouldn't
Yeah, they actually they look very similar, but I do like Westpac myself as well. It's making higher highs, so watch it, see if it breaks above that triangle.
Alrighty-o.
Okay, Dale. So what's up next?
Well, Pedro, we have actually lots more stocks to cover later on in the show. However, now is the time for what we've all been waiting for. Now, our topic for tonight is about the top pot stocks to buy as medical marijuana stocks are set to rise. Now, to kick things off, I have a quote from ex-CEO of Can Group, Peter Crock, who said medicinal cannabis is a fascinating new field. It offers a once-in-a-century opportunity to establish a whole new industry in Australia with a product that will make a profound difference to people's lives.
I have to agree, Dale. Medicinal cannabis or medicinal marijuana stocks, or as some like to call them, pot stocks, is an interesting area.
Yeah, well, I think it's because it's still a controversial area, but as regular viewers know, we never ever shy away from controversy.
You know what's exciting to me is that we are going to share the opportunity to profit in this growth area. As from my research, company revenues in this area have been accelerating, and so there is a potential to make big returns.
Well, that's got to be correct. When you see the area like this, we know that returns in the hundreds and even in the thousands of % are possible if you've got the risk appetite. So what we're going to do tonight is share what's important to know so that you don't lose your shirt as we give you our view on pot stocks.
Now, Dale, I also want to show ETFs as they can give you some exposure and are a bit safer than investing in one pot stock.
Well, as you rightly said, medicinal cannabis, that's really hard to say, is a huge growth area and is highly likely a lot more money will be invested in this area as medicinal marijuana products become more widely accepted. So let's get into who's using it and what the uptake has been like.
That's a good question. You know, you might like to recall that in October 2016, medicinal cannabis was legalised here in Australia. This meant that organisations could grow cannabis for research and manufacturing different pharmaceutical products. As you might expect, the industry took off and the growth in Australia has been exponential ever since.
Now, whilst Australia is still a small market, it's the growth in this area that is really interesting to me. Now, Statista indicates that the revenues from the market here in Australia could reach $380 million in 2028, which is pretty amazing. Now, I think in the last year, growth has been above 70%. And we know that the global market is huge, so there's lots of opportunity here, I reckon.
Oh, that's incredible growth. But what I would like to get into is what it is being used for and how many people are using it, as this will show why this is such an exciting area.
Now, we know the main use at the moment is for pain management now, and it appears many doctors are open to prescribing it for this. So let's bring up some information from Health Direct, which is a government website. Now, this website states that uses for medicinal marijuana are to treat chronic pain, arthritis, lower back, neck, and neuropathic pain, and it can also treat anxiety, epilepsy, insomnia, and multiple sclerosis, but it probably can't cure if you're being a Collingwood supporter.
I don't think anything can. What is staggering to me is that currently it appears around 600,000 people have used medicinal marijuana. And according to an article I read on the ABC, 100,000 of these were added to the list in 2022 alone.
Wow. Now, here's a fun fact for you, Pedro. The number of prescriptions cracked the 1 million mark earlier this year, which is simply just mind-boggling.
The more you look at it into this area, the more impressive things get. Although I don't have any hard data on this, it seems people of all ages and walks of life are using medicinal cannabis for pain and say that it has changed their lives.
Well, look, all my research actually confirms that too, but we need to remember that for thousands of years, we have lived without man-made drugs, using just plants, water and food to treat illness. And so there are so many benefits that can be derived from cannabis plants. And what really is quite interesting is the number of sporting people that have come out saying that they attribute their recovery to medical marijuana. Now, have a look at this. Now, it's a photo of Andrew Johns.
Oh, is that who's on the screen?
Yeah, well, NRL fans will recognise him. It's, as I said, it's Andrew Johns, and it's the Sydney Morning Herald ran an article about medicinal, I still can't say it, medicinal cannabis last year, and featured him as he credits medicinal marijuana with his recovery from injuries. Now, that's an amazing thing, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. For a sportsman like that to come out and say that, it must be, credible.
Well, it is. It's you need to be, how do I say it? I'm going to say brave to do that, because obviously people still have that stigma around marijuana, and medical marijuana doesn't have does it TCPs, I think, isn't it? To make
THC.
That's it. I knew it was an acronym of some
something
sort
like
of stuff.
that.
It doesn't have that, but anyway, it's good to see people like that coming out and supporting it anyway.
It is. I mean, when you generally mention marijuana, the first thing you think about is recreational use. That's a stigma that's with it for long. So I'm glad that it's becoming better. Now, I love that this is becoming more mainstream and that the stigma around this area is dying away. What's compelling is that the big picture of where it can go. Let's take a look at the entire market for cannabis. This will blow you away.
All right, so it's a statistic chart. Now, okay, this graph indicates exponential growth for therapeutic, recreational, and medicinal cannabis.
That's a mouthful. Correct. But get this, Dale. Globally, the revenue for cannabis in 2023 is expected to be $51 billion US. But it doesn't stop there. Revenue is forecast to reach in the excess of $100 billion in 2028.
Holy moly, that's a hell of a lot of revenue, isn't it?
Is.
I reckon, the graph is really interesting because it actually says it's measuring recreational use. How the hell do you do that?
I'd like to know the same thing.
Because you can't buy recreational cannabis off a shop, can you? I don't even know where to buy cannabis. But I think it's exponential growth in, obviously, I think it's great in terms of therapeutic cannabis, but also medicinal cannabis, because obviously pain relief, but there are so many other benefits. Obviously, one of the big ones is epilepsy. I've known people that have epilepsy, and especially kids, you don't want to see them having those attacks, and it just fixes it. And to me, this growth is not enough. We should have been picking this up years and years earlier, but I love it. I really do love it.
Same, and I'm glad that Aussie companies are getting onto it and are able to capture some of this market.
Well, okay, all that's fine, but I'm sure some people are sitting there asking that if they can actually legally grow cannabis for their own purposes.
Great question. Growing cannabis for your own use is still illegal except in the ACT.
Well, so politicians can grow their own pot, but nobody else.
Big surprise.
That's exactly what you're telling me.
That's exactly right. They're making the rules.
They're making the rules. So there you go, isn't it?
Oh, look. Are you ready to take a look at some stocks now?
Well, you just said the magic words, Pedro. So let's take a look at the charts.
Okay, so on your screen right now is a watch list of 8 pot stocks by order of market capitalization.
Wow.
Yeah,
I'm just looking at the market cap, and it's like the biggest one, Ventura, is up at 209. That's most of the people like watching TalkingWealth.com and watching my market report know that I'd pretty much get rid of anything below like 500 most of the time. Like 200. So they are lower cap stocks, aren't they?
They are, and unfortunately, most of the stocks in this sector. In the medicinal marijuana sector are low liquidity. seems like they're, it's a young sector. So you're going to find most of them are like this.
But interesting, because just earlier we're saying, this area has grown 70% in 2022, 100,000 new people using medical marijuana, and yet there's only one of them has gone up this year.
Yeah.
Like this is since 1 January this year, so we're talking 10 months roughly of data, and they're sadly down a lot, obviously, except botanics through there. So that's really, really interesting. And obviously, 37% for down from this one. There's a lot of opportunity there because were they overbought and then they've come back because of the hype around them, or is they were just so risky that people want to stay away from them? I don't know.
Or have they been oversold at the moment?
Well, quite possibly, but obviously looking at this, there is some opportunities in that area. Now we're going to go through all these 8 stocks. We're going to go and have a look at the 8 stocks.
We shall.
And then in the last part of the show with our Talking Wealth subscribers, we're going to take them into something else, aren't we?
I'm excited for that. Can't wait.
All right, so let's go and bring up some other stuff. So you want to get into the first stock. So you're going to do these in order of market cap?
In order of market cap, exactly.
Right.
Starting off with the largest market cap of the bunch, and that is VIT, Vitura Health.
Okay.
Now, as usual, on the left we have the monthly, on the right we have the weekly, and
that's not looking too bad.
It's
is it?
not too bad. It's actually it's found some good support in this 30-cent mark.
At 30 cents, you are like Janine. You have to lean over and see.
Yeah, that's right. It might be better to just zoom in like that.
Well, she asked me to look at the prices too because she refuses to wear glasses on the show. I don't know why, but anyway. But she is watching you and marking you.
Oh, right, okay. Hi, Janine.
So looking at that, so it's come down to about 29 cents, and that was about
has.
5 or 6 weeks ago, holding up at the moment. But look, I actually like this stock. You know what I'm seeing at the moment? Because I was just saying before, were they overheated and then they'd just come back, and let me just get rid of that. But looking at this, if you look at the whole history, we've only got, this 2019, so we don't have a lot of history on a lot of these stocks because it is a new area because as you said, or as you said earlier, it's like 2016 is when they allowed companies to start growing pot stocks. So it's still a new industry. But if we just use a basic trend line and just clip it off the bottom there, you can see there it's really just coming back to its momentum. So through this period here from July last year, it took right off up into October, big rise. Making a lot of money off from that low to that high. Look at that, nearly 500%. In a period of 1, 2, 3, 4 months. So it can make really good money. But what I like to see in these sorts of areas and these types of stocks is volume being a little bit more consistent, but also volume consistently at slightly higher levels. Now you can see here. It's a lot more consistent, isn't it? It's a lot higher level. So if I use my little crosshairs, you can see there, so roughly, look at that. So what's been a bit more average since this September period last year, this sort of level is more average, or a little bit lower. And you can see before that, there's only a couple of bars that broke it. So we're getting more participation, and that's what's exciting to me. The more we see this move up and the steadier it is, then the easier it is to be able to get up a really good set of rules on this sort of stock and put it into a position where you might buy it. But this is one I'd be looking at the moment and watching it to see if it give us a bit of support and starts to prove that it's going up, because I don't necessarily think at the moment on the weekly chart, whilst we've had that low 1, 2, 3 weeks up, but that's still the highest bar there at 39 cents. So it's just hovering a little bit. I'd like to see a couple of down bars, hold above that, start to move up. But I would put your money into this.
Really?
I wouldn't put mine into
Won't
it. I'd
be
put
much.
yours in it. But I do like it, and obviously the volume's not super high at this point in time. I'd like to see more volume going into it. There's for a week 519,000. Multiply that by 36 cents, roughly what it is now. So we're not talking big stock. But it looks steady at the moment and it's trending nicely. So it's definitely one to put on the watch list and definitely one to put on that little bit of a speculation type one, if you know what I mean.
Your dark horse.
Well, yeah, that's what we call them, the dark horse. So if you put some money and to me, I'd be putting money that I could afford to put there for a long period of time and not be stressed about whatever it's doing it.
Yeah.
You know, or that if it does go half in price, not be too worried about it. That's what I'd be looking at. So what's
I
the
agree.
next stock you've got?
Okay, so the next one is BOT, so Botanics Pharmaceuticals.
Yes.
On the left, monthly, right, weekly. Now look at that. That looks like a bit of a maybe backdoor listing there on the left. You can see the bars.
I'd suggest that was a period where it's really, really new and not much trading on it. It really isn't, because they're really, when you're looking at bars like that, if I just see these periods here, and a lot of people may not notice these periods, and let's just drop it back a little bit. And you can see these dashes through here. This just is a prime example of a very illiquid stock, and you can see 24 shares
Yeah.
at
Opens and
$41.
closes.
So that's not a lot. And sometimes when you look at this one here, it's 2 shares. And people go, how do you buy 2 shares? Well, these are bots or something just bought 2 shares. But it is interesting, and this one here is sometimes when it's not even coming up, it's that bad, 6 shares on that one. So sometimes when you look at it and you look at the date, put on a daily chart, you'll see dates missing. And I've seen the ones where you've got a week or 2 missing there, and that's why they're just little dashes. And this could just be one buyer buying 2 shares, and on these ones you get all the way through. It just shows you a classic example of an illiquid stock. So from that point of view, and here again, there's just a bit of really liquid all the way through here. So I want to see volume increasing, as I was saying before, on these sorts of stocks. So if we put volume on the bottom, now you can see it's more increasing since 2017. And you can start to see these great moves. So, and we're still on the monthly chart, by the way, so it's getting a little bit better, more average volume getting a little bit better, but it's a bit more cyclical, and I think you need good intestinal fortitude for this stock, because have a look at that, 303% in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 months.
Half a year. Yep.
Half a year, and it's done all of that. But little bit, this is so far this month, not doing too bad. Do you want to go to the weekly chart and have a bit of a look at that? I'm sure you've got some stuff on there you want to talk about.
Yeah, so on the weekly chart here, if I can just expand it there, it has gapped down. The bars, the weekly bars are looking pretty bearish at the moment, with volume increasing as well. So it's one to just watch at the moment. It's a possibility that it could find support up that 12 cents.
11, 12 cents, yep.
Yeah, around that 12 cents mark, if it does. And then it could actually trade up and fill that gap. But we'd have to have a look to see if it does fill gaps in the past.
Because this sort of stuff like this that I'm seeing with these stocks you're showing us right now, they really do remind me of some of the biotech stocks back 15, 20 years ago. And that was sort of that new area. And Janine and I did talk about biotechs and pharmaceuticals last week. But this is the new, even though this is in the sort of the health industry, or it is the health industry, it's sort of on that line. But this is what I was seeing, and nowadays you're looking at some of those pharmaceuticals and biotechs doing really, really well. So that's what we're talking about a bit earlier. It is an industry that is at, can I say, the grassroots?
Yes, no pun intended, right?
No, the pun was intended.
It was,
it's a grass,
right.
and it's about to go smoking, probably. But
on a roll.
I do like it at the moment. This one's again another one to watch. I do like what I'm seeing. I think it will find some support soon, and maybe it might be a nice little buy for that little specky buy. So have you got another one for us?
Yes. So the next one that we have is Incanex Healthcare.
Yep.
Another one that's had a stellar rise, as you can see on the monthly chart here as I bring that up. It's had a stellar rise, but a stellar fall back down to that 5 cents.
5 cents.
5 cents level.
Gone from 70 something cents to 5
70
cents.
cents. So you'd have to have some very strong intestinal fortitude, as you would call it. Looking at the volume is actually increased on this last down move. So are we seeing a blow off? Are we seeing this last kind of move down until?
Well, it could be. And this is what I was sort of talking about before we looked at the charts. Have these stocks gone on a rampage and gone way overvalued, and now they've come back to normal value? That's what I'm thinking, because obviously, a lot of them did take off 2020, 21, 22-ish, and then and what we're seeing now is they've all come back in the last 12 months.
Yeah.
So to me, that's sort of, you would have got all of these being what I saw on the biotechs back in the early 2000s, etc., and the late 90s, that sort of stuff, is you see it all these nowadays. There's all the chat groups,
Yes.
oh, get into this stock, and so that's
Ramping
what you
them
would
up.
have seen through here, and all these people jumping on it and then jumping off it. So I like this because if you start seeing this, so we're still only on the monthly chart, people, but you can see here it's right down near that big, nice, strong support level there, which is at 4 cents. So if this thing starts to find support, this is exciting. This could be the big dark horse too.
This one, yes.
So whilst they're small stocks, and I would suggest people be very, very cautious on these and not put money into them, that they were, needing, as I said, just put in that bit of play money, that your pocket money, that if it doesn't do anything for the next 2 years, don't worry about it. Or if it goes down further, don't worry about it. But if it goes off, you're right. So I do like this one. So
Beautiful.
what's the next
Glad.
one?
All right. So next one is DTZ, which is .Z Nano.
.Z Nano.
Now, nano meaning probably, the actual price of the stock. I mean,
What's
at
it,
the
16
moment.
cents? It's a higher price than the last one.
It's higher than the other one, though.
So it should be Maxo, not Nano.
Yeah, probably. It's
still a liquid?
It's still a liquid. It's had this huge downtrend ever since December 2021. So it looks like it's the one that's trended down for the longest so far. It's
That's so consistent, isn't it?
It is. It doesn't. The bars doesn't look like so liquid as the previous.
Well, it's halved
ones.
in price. It's gone from 46 cents down to nearly 16 cents.
Yeah, that's right.
So that's a huge move. I mean, obviously you're showing me a weekly chart.
That's
You're
a
showing
week-
us a weekly chart through here.
Yes, and now look what happens when we expand out of it. It's
So that's probably was a backdoor listing from looking at all of that. But it
Yes.
does trend really well. So it should be an easy one. It does take off. But
that's right.
the point is we've got to make sure we've got good entry rules, good exit rules, and we're making sure our money management not putting, it's not about the price of the shares so much. It's about the quality of what you're actually buying
Yes.
and the strategy around all that. Because some people will just buying because it's around 16 cents or 17
Exactly. They could say, look, it's cheap because it used to be trading at 47 cents. But it has crossed this below this previous support. So
Okay.
I'd be staying out of it. Don't catch a falling knife.
Yep.
And just keep an eye on it.
Okay, so you're saying it could come right back a little bit further down into these sorts of levels, what you're talking about down in here.
Yeah, I'd say
Down
that
around there. Sorry. Yeah, okay.
around that 10-cent mark even. That could be a good round number that it could come down to.
Yep, 9 or
Find some
10 cents. I
agreements.
don't discount that, but again, if it did that, I'd be looking at it again. But again, it's everything is possible. We don't control the stocks, only when we get in and get out of it. But I do like this. It's a nice steady mover, and that's what I like about it. It's just this steady process of where that goes up and down, and you can use a trend line on this stock. If there's a trend line somewhere here, you could just have a trend line roughly up there, and look at that. It's like, seriously,
Yep. You would
for
have
a
been
sort of
out.
a low cap stock using a trend line as a rule to buy and sell, that's pretty rare.
Yeah.
I do like it. Well done
Beautiful.
for picking that one.
Yeah.
What else have you got for us?
Okay, so EOF, Ecofiber Limited.
Oh,
And this one's had a huge fall. It used to be trading up above the $3.90 mark. Going on to we'll start off on the monthly. It debuted or came out in 2019.
yeah.
Had a rise and then has just been falling since 2019. If I zoom in here on the monthly chart, bit of a bearish bar here at the end. It's currently trading at a low of 16 cents. So from $3.90 to 16 cents.
Wow.
It's not one for a buy and hold, that's for sure. Now going on to the weekly chart, if we can just zoom in, this does look like a pretty sporadic type of stock, not one for the faint-hearted as well. Spikes in volume with spikes in price
This
as
would
well.
be a little bit harder to trade.
It would be a little bit of a tough one to find a rule, I think, on this one. It looks like it's holding up above those that 16-cent mark at the moment. If we can put a trend line, a horizontal line, say around that 16-cent mark, it's holding up, but doesn't mean that it will continue to hold up.
You're going to think this with these cannabis stocks, because obviously what we're talking about is not just cannabis oil or medicinal products, or it was obviously for the epilepsy and the pain relief and all that. We're talking about cannabis as a broader sense, because I know there's cannabis, you know, some of the cannabis crops, they're using hemp for making clothing, they're using all of that sort of stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
So there's even more mainstream uses, if I can say that, for cannabis, not just as an oil for a medicinal purpose or a pharmaceutical type of purpose. From that point of view, well, it's a medicinal purpose, because it's not about getting high, but there's some great stuff around these cannabis products. But this is probably my least favourite at the moment, but again, you know, it could present a brilliant opportunity, because as you see, it is volatile, but you need to be a little bit more experienced on this one than I would expect on the other ones that we've seen as well.
Yeah, so I would say keep a tight stop loss on this one.
Okay, cool. So now you're going to got Can, which is one we've talked about quite a few times on this show, Can Group.
Yes. So Can Group is actually one that's fairly popular. I think a lot of people would have heard about it. They've built a facility up in Mildura.
Okay.
And they're currently producing 9.5 tonnes with a capacity of producing 70 tonnes.
Wow.
So they're not at full capacity yet, full production, and they're saying that the demand is there.
Well, it is, absolutely. I think the demand has been stymied or stifled based on, you know, our attitudes towards cannabis. I think, you know, people have been using cannabis for hundreds, if not thousands of years for certain things, and it's proven itself. It's, you know, yes, it's had that stigma of being a drug, an illicit drug that people smoke and get high and all that sort of stuff. But we're not talking about any of that. We're talking about a product that is safe to use, and it helps health, but it also has other environmental benefits and everything else.
Exactly, and they're focusing on being ethical as well about it. Now, going on to the chart on the left here, we've got the monthly. Another one that's had a stellar rise. It came out in 2017, so not long after they legalized it.
Yep.
Had a huge rise, and then it's just been falling.
Yeah, they took off on that euphoria. But this is what excites me so much about this area, because I've seen so much of that sort of stuff on a new area like that really takes off on speculation and whatever else. People jump in on it's a new flavour of the month. And then you get these long periods of downward movement. That's why I get so excited about stocks like this. This is its lowest level ever. You know, we're talking about 11 cents in June this year, and it's holding all the way across here. So to me, I like it. I like it a lot. What I'm seeing now, it's not going to fall away. I think there's only upside potential from here, and this could be one where you put $1,000 in it and come back in 10 years' time and have, you know, 20 or 30,000 or 50,000 or something like that.
Yep.
Which is what we're talking about earlier, that you can get thousands of % growth out of something, and Can Group has that possibility, I think.
I agree. I actually quite like Can Group, and I like what they're doing. They, on their latest report, they actually came out with 115% increase in revenue. So
115%.
115. So
check. So what you're saying is to go to their website, check out their annual report.
Check out the annual report.
Have a
Came
good
out
read of
a
it.
couple of months ago, I believe.
Yep.
Have a read, and you'll be pretty impressed. But
if-
also have a look at the chart.
And when our viewers double the money, you've got to take 20% of it. Is that what you're telling us?
Yes. We'll leave the details after the show.
All right, well, that is it for our topic for tonight. We've still got loads more to get through, but before we do get into some more stocks, for those watching on YouTube, you can watch all of tonight's show plus the bonus content in the second half, where we get into lots more stocks by simply taking a couple of minutes to secure your free 7-day subscription to talkingwealth.com. You can also get to watch my weekly Australian stock market report each and every week, where I share my view on the market, where the opportunities may arise, along with lots of stocks to put on your watch list, so I help you profit a lot more. Now, this week I took a deep dive into the sectors of the market that I think will outperform in the next year, along with some stocks in the mid-cap 50 that are also looking super hot or looking really, really good right now. Right now, it's time for you to pick up the phone and give us a call on 92909988. That's 03 for Melbourne, 92909988, or can even text the phone number on your screen right now. Whilst we wait for your calls, let's get into our next email. Alrighty, now it's time we get into our next question, which is from Les. Now, Les is a frequent emailer, so we've had a couple of those tonight, Pedro. Now, Les is asking, he says, good evening, Janine and Dale. Fingers crossed, I'm watching live tonight. Hope you are, Les. Just in case I'm not, I would like your thoughts on Deterra Royalties, or stock ticker code DRR, on a 5-year weekly chart. It has just broken through its most recent high of $4.94, and on a 5-year monthly, it has closed for the past 2 months. Any near-term resistance on a pullback would be around $4.42, which is around 11% away. Now, it looks to me to be a loud buy. I'm not sure what a loud buy is, Les, but we've got one. But it has been only been listed since 2020 with an all-time high around that listing time of $5.13. Is this long enough time to backtest? And what are your thoughts on the stock? Typically, I buy stocks for growth over the medium to long term, and I am unsure about this stock, mainly due to its short time on the market. Would appreciate your thoughts, Les. So a couple of questions here. One is that long enough to test a stock to see whether it's worth buying?
Usually we would like at least 5 to 10 years of data to backtest a stock.
Okay, I'm going to put you on the spot. I'm going to ask you that dirty question. Why?
Well, that is a good question. I mean, we need enough data to see how the stock performs and how it performs through different economic environments as well. So really, we can gauge a better win-loss ratio in that sense. You know,
so you're talking about bull markets, bear markets, sideways markets?
Exactly. How it trends when it goes up and how it trends when it goes down or sideways.
Cool. Well, technically, Les, you can start analysing a stock from the moment it lists on the exchange, because you're getting data coming in, but you do need to be highly experienced to be able to do that, to read the bars and read the price analysis pattern and the time analysis from all of that, but you can actually do that. So let's go and have a look at the chart on the screen. So you've brought all that up.
Okay, so we brought up the Deterra Royalties on the screen now.
So you've got all of the data there.
This is all of the data from the time that it listed back in October 2020. So it is a pretty young stock here, and it's actually just traded sideways.
Yeah.
You usually see them either spike up and then just trend down for however long, but this one's just held up pretty good.
Yeah, like I'd have to say that. I mean, I'm not agreeing with Les. I don't mind the stock. It looks pretty good at the moment. But as far as trended, I totally agree with you. This is completely sideways, so it's not trending up or down at the moment, whether it's a 5-year or 1 year, whatever else. But I mean, going back through here, looking at, this date here is November last year. There's sort of September-ish last year. Yeah, it's got a higher high here and a higher high through here, but that's really not really a great trending stock at the moment. And there'll be a reason for that. Some stocks are quite cyclical, that they travel between sort of two price areas. That's pretty normal for some stocks, but not all stocks. What else have you got to say?
Okay, yes, I agree with that. It's going sideways. I'd just be watching it for the moment. This bar, if I bring up the monthly chart bigger here, this current month here of October has closed on its high, but we're still in October at the moment, so we don't know if it's going to
see where it's going to go.
Where it's going to go. We still have this overhead resistance though from the all-time high of $5.35. And how long do we have to go to there? So if we take the current close, we've still got about 6.7% until it hits that. Now, seeing as though it hasn't got much history, I'd be saying that it's a pretty good bet that it's going to hit resistance in that area, because really the market only has one value to go by, right? It's only got one price. So buyers are going to start getting pretty worried when the price hits around that area.
I think this is a tough stock to trade. Well, I'm not discounting that Les would make money on it if he does buy into the stock. There's so many more easier stocks to trade, Les. So many more easier stocks, especially right now. I don't need to go for something that's tougher. That's pretty much my thoughts.
Yes, I'd
so
agree.
You're going to make your job a bit harder, so go for something really easier. Now, we do have a text now to go to, and the text is from Jacob, so I'll get you to bring up the stock, which is James Hardy for me, please. He says, "Hi, love the show. I recently bought the stock James Hardy at $41.03 and and 8% stop loss. That's interesting. Just wanted to know your thoughts. Regards, Jacob. So James Hardy, 8% stop loss. Bought it recently. He doesn't actually say what's recent, and to me, recent would be in the last month.
Could be.
If past that. So what do you think about his buy, and what do you think about his stop loss?
Well, first of all, well done for putting a stop loss.
Yep.
I would say 8% is better than
Mate, you really
nothing.
are channeling Janine, aren't you?
Yep, she's really channeling her spirit through me today. But 8%, really the stop loss would have to depend on the volatility of the stock. So 8% for James Hardy for me sounds a little bit tight. If we go to the weekly chart over here, just zoom out, it has trended quite nicely, but I think that it's actually fallen below that trend line there. So, I mean, it's not a valid trend line, but it looks like it has fallen out of bed a little bit. I'd be keen to know when you actually bought Jacob, to see if it has triggered your stop loss. Or
Well, I can't see a buy in this stock over the last 3-4 months. I really can't. So, because I mean, obviously that high there is August. We're now basically 2 months down the track. There's no buy through there. The stock has fallen, obviously in the order there of 19%, as you can see. If I just drag that down, you'll see that. Since that time, there's actually a sell signal in that move. So if you bought it before that high, there has been a signal to sell, and as you showed us, there would have been an exit on the trend line. So a couple of rules why you wouldn't own it. I agree with you. I think the stop loss is too tight for James Hardy. Not necessarily saying it's going to go down from here. This could be just finding some nice support on a shorter term momentum, and if it does start to take off, it might have a valid trend line on it. But right now, I wouldn't be looking at buying it. But if I owned it, I'd still be hanging on at the moment. But if it started to turn south, I'd be exiting pretty quickly. That's what I'd be doing.
Yep, I would agree with that. It looks like it has found some agreements there where it's previously had a bit of a sideways move. So
Good question,
agreed
mate.
with everything.
Good question.
It is, very good question. Thanks for messaging in, Jacob.
Cool. If you want to be like Jacob, you can also text us into the numbers on your screen, or better still, pick up the phone and give us a call on 92909988. But we need to get into our next email, which is from Derek, I believe how we say that. Now he says, "Hi Janine and Dale. Sorry for the little joke comparing you to two squirrels from Donald Duck's Adventures." I don't remember that, Derek, so you shouldn't have brought it up. He says, "I love your show and watch it every week. Well done, 2 thumbs up. I have a mid to long-term investment in 7 Holdings, or stock ticker code SVW. When I brought it, I believed it was a solid stock with a growing business and share price. Now I'm close to a 10% loss, which is usually my sign for long-term investments, or my sell sign for long-term investments. Could you give your opinion on the future performance of the stock market? Regards, Derek." And he says he's a cat supporter.
Oh, he's won you already, hasn't he?
He's well married. He can call me a squirrel all he likes. He's a cat supporter. So I'm fine
Squirrel
with all
cats.
So having a look at it, I think, can I say firstly, I don't like his stop loss. Just because a stock's fallen 10% is not a reason to sell in my book.
Yes.
So to me, it needs to be a little bit better than that in terms of, and especially if it's a long-term buy and hold type of, or long-term, and especially if it's a good stock like this one. So
Exactly,
so
yes.
You've got
I
something on the
agree.
screen right now, so you've been listening.
Yes, I have. So on the screen now, monthly on the left, weekly on the right. Let's start off with the monthly here. And I know this move did come off some good positive news on their earnings, and you might have entered around up here, thinking that it may have kept on going, but it looks like it's just this last bar here worries me. It's really been sold off. If we can put some volume onto it.
The thing is, the question would be to me to ask is, one, has it paid a dividend? Is that
that's
a
good
reason
question.
why it's fallen over at the moment? Or has there something else happened to cause it? Because if we look at the high, and this is, I'm channeling Janine now, so that's 14% off that high if we have a look at that at this point in time. And that wouldn't worry me on this stock at all, wouldn't zero worry me at this stock that it's off 14% off its high. But because I just think, look at some momentum that's happening at the moment, the short term. If we just plonk that on, and whilst this is not accurate, it's probably just easing off because it had a beautiful big move up from here through to here. We're talking about a 30-something% rise over a couple of months. So you would think it's going to come and ease off anyway. So again, to me, I think Derek doesn't need to worry about it. But I'm not telling you not to stay to your rules, because you need to be comfortable with things. And if that rule works for you and you're comfortable with it, stay with it. I just like this stock at the moment. I just think it's coming back, easing back to its normal momentum, and then it'll be fine moving on. But that's my thoughts. Anything else you want to add?
No, I think you've explained it well.
All right, well, that's all we have on 7 West. Now, I do hope you enjoyed our show tonight on YouTube. Now, remember to show your support by commenting below this video after the show, because we'd love to hear your favourite part of the show, and tell us if you like Pedro or not, and should we have him back on again, or we should just kick him out and get Janine back in the seat. No, I'm only joking, mate, but please put the comments below and tell us if you like Pedro and if you like the show and what your favourite part. Also, give us a big thumbs up. That really helps new people discover these videos, and we'd really appreciate it if you show your support and subscribe to our channel. And that way that you know when we go live with all of our videos. For those watching via Talking Wealth, stay tuned for the bonus content that we promise for you. In next week's show, we get into the best 5 dividend stocks to buy with dividend yields above 10%. We'll also answer your questions and so much more. So make sure you put next Tuesday night's show on your calendar. Also, give us a big thumbs up and remember to subscribe to the channel.